Hey, it's Paul from howtoplaybassdotcom. Today's lesson we're going to look at the bass line to one of my favourite Beatles tunes. This is Hello Goodbye, Paul McCartney of course. Great tune, quite a good one for beginners. There's two ways of playing through this. One is, basically there's a 16 bar form to the song, and then that repeats over and over until the very end, and there's a transition and an outro. So you can either play the 16 bars from the first verse and just repeat that 4 times and then tag on the outro section, or you can, if you want to play it a bit more authentically, you can go through the entire lesson and I walk through the subtle variations that McCartney uses in his bass line. They're very simple, mostly a very simple bass line, and you can incorporate those and you can play through it totally authentically. So that's what we're going to do today. Before we get started, if you're not already a subscriber to my free monthly easy, click the link underneath the video and head over to my website and subscribe. In return for subscribing, you get a sequence of song tutorials in video and PDF format, plus there's a free monthly tutorial, again that's in video and PDF format, and all that stuff's exclusive to subscribers and totally free except for your email address. So go and do that, click on the link, and then come back here and we'll get started with verse 1. Okay, you just heard verse 1 being played with the backing track. Pretty much once you've learnt this verse, you could play through almost the entire song just using this. There are some subtle nuances, we'll look through those in the different sections. 16 bar section, as I said, there's 2 4 bar as well, which we'll come to in a minute. It starts off with 3 bars where the bass holds notes for the complete bars. So you start with F, 3rd fret of the D string, C, 3rd fret of the A string, G, 5th fret of the D string, and then we've got this run down an A minor scale. This run, I've good cause to know, cost me several $100s, long story. So we're playing A, 2nd fret of the G string, G and F, 5th and 3rd frets of the D string, E at the 2nd fret of the D string, D at the 5th fret of the A string, C and B, 3rd and 2nd frets of the A string, and back down to A, the root note of that scale, 5th fret of the E string. Okay, then we've got this, that's the 5th bar, the next pattern, it's G, D, B, D. G's the 3rd fret of the E string, G's the 5th fret of the A string, B's the 2nd fret of the A string. So G, D, B, D repeated twice. Then we play a phrase, another on an A minor chord, which is A, 5th fret of the E string, C and D, 3rd and 5th frets of the A string, E, D, 2nd fret of the D string for E, 5th fret of the A string for D, and then you've got C, B, 3rd and 2nd frets of the A string to A, 5th fret of the E string again. So then we've got back to G, we're going to play that G, D, B, D pattern, and then we're going to play a run G, A, B, D, G, A, 3rd and 5th frets of the E string, B and D, 2nd and 5th frets of the A string, and then we hold on G, 5th fret of the D string. Now that holds for an entire 4/4 bar and a 2/4 bar as well. This 2/4 bar I talked about. So there's 2 ways of counting it. You can either count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then on to the next section, which we'll look in a second. Or you could count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Either way works. The second way is technically more correct, but sometimes when you're adding just a 2/4 bar onto a 4/4 bar, it's just easier just to think of them as one entity and count 1 to 6. But either way works. Then that takes us into the section which is, I guess, the chorus. So note-wise, what we've got is C, C, B, B, A, G, G, F, F, A flat, and those locations are C, 3rd fret of the A string, B, 2nd fret of the A string, A, 5th fret of the E string, G, 3rd fret of the E string, F, 1st fret of the E string, A flat, 4th fret of the E string. Then the pattern repeats, but the next time it goes to B flat instead of A flat. B flat's the 1st fret of the A string, and then we've got a bar in C which will which will end this verse chorus and set us up for the F, the downbeat of the second time through. First time through we're going to play this, which is C, C, D, E, G, A and C. Just a major pentatonic figure if you know your pentatonic. So C, C, D, 3rd and 5th frets of the A string, or you could play the open D string. Then you've got E to G, 2nd and 5th fret of the D string, A to C, 2nd and 5th fret of the G string, and then that C there acts as a dominant approach note. See how nice that sounds? To the F, which would be the start of the second verse. Now the second verse is almost identical to the first verse, but there's a variation on that very last bar. So we'll go quickly to the second verse and look at that minor variation. The second verse, you just heard it with the backing track. It's identical to the first verse except the very last bar. So in the first time through we played. The second time we're going to play. Notice that still leads nicely to the F. What we're playing is C, C, D, E, C, D, E. C and D, 3rd and 5th frets of the A string, E the 2nd fret of the D string of course, which gives us a nice approach to the F. And that F of course is the downbeat on the 3rd playthrough or the 3rd verse. That's got a couple of subtle variations in, so let's move on and look at that in its own section. Okay, verse 3. You just heard it with the backing track. It's got some minor variations. This is all as before. We'll just walk through it and so you can know exactly where the variations occur. Okay, so here's the first variation in bar 6. On the after this figure on the G bar, on an A minor bar, we're now going to play. So we're playing 2 A's rather than an A as a quarter note, which we had before. C, D, E, D, So all the note locations are as before, but instead of playing, we're going to play. So it's just a minor variation supplanting a quarter note with 2/8 notes. Then the next bar, there's a subtle variation there. Instead of playing, we're going to play. So instead of playing G, D, B, G, we're going to play G, B, D, B, and then G, A, B, D, and then that high G which holds. Now so this G is the next variation. In verse 1 and 2, we held that for 6 beats. In verse 3, we're going to hold it for 5 beats, and then we're going to go up here to G at the 12th fret, the octave, and we're going to grab that and we're going to slide down before we then get into that pattern, that descending pattern that's used in the verse. So, so what it would be, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then into that pattern. So you heard it with the play along. That's what we're doing. The rest of the section is as before, and the very last bar we're using the same ending that we used in verse 1, so which again leads us down nicely to the F, the downbeat in verse 4. That's got some variations and it's got the outro on, so we're going to look at that as a separate section. Just heard verse 4 with the backing track. Again, I'll step through it bar by bar and we'll go through these variations because it's got the outro tagged on. So it starts off as before, F, C and G, and then we've got the descending scalar run, A minor scale. Okay, then the next bar in G as before, and then we've got another subtle variation on the A minor bar we're going to play. So that 16th note figure's gone and we're just playing A, C, D, E, D, C, B, A. So very similar notes, but that little 16th note figure's gone out. Then the next bar, we've got that variation we had in verse 3 again when we play G, B, D, B, and then G, A, B, D, and then we're up to the... Now this time there's another distinct fill, so what we're going to do this time is we're going to play something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what you're doing is you're holding that for 4 beats and then into an eighth note of the 2/4 bar, and then you're getting up to the G, the octave G again at the 12th fret of the G string and playing, and then sliding down on that last note. Play through the pattern that you should be familiar with. Okay, and then when you get to there, the pattern repeats again, and this is kind of then becomes the transition to the outro. So then we play again C, C, B, B, G, G, sorry, A, G, G, F, F, A flat, and then here's where the variation comes in. We're going to play a descending figure in octaves: A flat, G, G flat, F, and then hold this note on C. So those, the The two A flats are 4th fret of the E string, 6th fret of the D string. The two Gs, 3rd fret of the E string and 5th fret of the D string. The two G flats, 2nd and 4th frets of the E and D strings, and then the two Fs, 1st and 3rd frets of the E and the D string, and then you're holding that C there. So that pattern is. And that holds for 2 bars, 8 beats, and then it comes in and there's just a bass pedal. We're just going to play C in quarter notes, but staccato again, like in the chorus where we played that descending sequence, and that just repeats over and over as the song fades. So if you put those sections together, you'll be able to get through Hello Goodbye. Great tune, one of my favourite Beatles tunes, as I said in the top, and nice bass line, some nice stuff happening, and you can either just get the first verse and pretty much play that over and over and then put that ending tag on, or you can incorporate the little subtle variations that we've gone through note by note in the lesson. So hope you enjoyed that, hope that helped you. I'll see you in the next lesson.